Whoa, look at that. Wow. Welcome Improvement Gang. My name is Mibor Zagoya, and today we're going to see the difference between fast and slow thinking according to Daniel Kahneman. If you like this type of content, don't forget to smash the like button because the YouTube algorithm will ensure that you receive more of these videos. And at the same time, you ensure that I stay motivated doing these videos. Anyway, let's get back to the video. First, we're going to focus on system number 1. What is system number 1, you ask? Well, system number 1 is actually the one that thinks fast and automatically for you, and some examples of these are like going on a commute to work without even thinking about which way to go around, thinking what is 10 times 0? I'm sure you got that. It can even be really useful at catching resentment in the voices of people that are close to us. So, what is so good about this system number 1? Well, the good thing about system number 1 is that it actually automatically does things for you. Imagine if you had to think about which way to go on your commute to work or to school, it would be a very hectic place in your mind. Or even if you had to remember how to write every single letter on your paper, it would just be chaos in your mind. For that reason, system number 1 is actually very good at maintaining the same habits in your mind and not having to think about it. You see, system 1 in your mind is actually something that takes a lot of shortcuts. It has made our lives easier and simplifies every single step in our life. And a lot of system number 1 is intuition. Intuition allows you to activate certain things that you're not fully perceiving consciously, but they can be very powerful at detecting many things in our lives. For example, I know you have been in situations where things just don't seem right. You don't know why, but they just don't seem right. I'm sure by now you know that first impressions matter a lot, and in order to change a first impression, it takes a lot of work. So it is much better to have a good impression at the beginning of the interaction so that you get to have the best of the best possibilities towards you. Now, first impressions might not be right. You know what they say, don't judge a book by its cover, but on the surface level, they do tell us a lot of what the person does or kind of put them in a category. Now, is this bad? It can be, but not necessarily. It just means that you're putting people in categories at the moment so that you learn to approach them in a certain way. So you better thank your system 1 or the fast thinking part of your brain for your safety, congruence with people, and the practicality that this system 1 brings to your life in all your habits and automatic responses that you have. And you don't have to be over analytical in every single part of your life. Now, there are some bad things with system 1 or your fast thinking. Now, I'm sure by now you already know that some first impressions are never good because now you start to think of the person in a bad point of view. And the type of category that you put the person in actually has a greater impact than you think, all thanks to the Pygmalion effect. This effect is when you expect someone to act a certain way, and what happens most of the time is that the person will most likely act like you perceive them around you. That is why teachers are so influential in every student. If the teacher expects the student that maybe they just don't like to perform worse, maybe even stutter, and just be really bad at a certain parts of their academic career, then most likely the student affected by this will develop a stutter, if that is the expectation, or will perform worse than if they were just left alone. Now, this system is actually not very good for the same reason of first impressions. Let's say you like someone. Now, this person's actions seem very different from what you expect them to act, but you just perceive them as they're just human and you tolerate many things. This is why in many relationships they ignore the red flags because they really like the person and they downplay the risk and any bad things about the person. And furthermore, you can even add this to things that you don't tend to like. For example, let's say in your childhood you had a bully and let's say he wore a baseball cap. Further in life, you probably will not like baseball caps. So, if you see someone wearing it, it will make you not like them as much. And this is just associating the bad feelings towards the baseball cap and the person presented to you. It does not mean you don't like the person. You just don't like the cap, but your mind confuses it. And there is more of a logical fallacy with system number 1. That is, it is very intuitive. For example, if you have been placed a problem in front of you that is very very similar to certain problems that you have had in the past, then you will most likely assume that you know how to figure this problem out. But it can be very tricky if you don't watch out. For example, a lily pad doubles in size every day on a lake. It took 48 days to cover the whole lake. So, how long did it take to cover half of it? The instant answer was probably 24. But that was just system 1 kicking in. If you really want to solve this problem, you have to put in system number 2, or your slow thinking, which will analyze the problem and see that the real answer is actually 47. System number 2 is much slower and more analytical, logical, and with all of its perks, it does have a major buff. It is where you can solve more complex problems in your life. But the extra brain power that allows you to do this also requires extra energy. This means that you have limited options when to use system number 2. So, what is really good about system number 2? A lot of things, actually. As you saw in the previous problem of the lily pad, it can actually be very good to actually get the right answer. Because system number 1 is not very good at solving new problems. So, you must first pass it through system 1 to see if it makes sense, and then go to system 2 for extra backup. System number 2 is actually very good to solve geometric proofs, calculus, financial models, and a bunch of amazing complex problems. I mean, your brain truly is very wonderful. And yeah, it does not have to be very complex problems, but rather new problems that you decide to consciously solve. Let's say you walk into an ice cream shop and they don't have any flavors that you have seen before. So you kick in your system 1 and it sees that it doesn't have anything that you already know. So it calls for system 2, the backup. Now you start to analyze all the different flavors and things that remind you of. So let's say you never had mango ice cream, but you know you really like mango the fruit. So you start to reason with your brain and say, you know what, I think mango is the way to go because I know it tastes good and I know it's really good. So you deduct the mango is the best option out of all the ice cream options that you have never seen before, and you stick with it and score. It was actually pretty good. A little bit different from the mango the fruit, but regardless, it was pretty good. So by now I am probably boring you about system 2 because it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So let's go into the bad things of system 2. It almost seems like it doesn't have any bad things, but it does. Your system number 2 is very bad at acknowledging data that was not presented to it when solving a problem. Okay, for this example, let's say that you get one graph at first and it is the sales of ice cream, and you see the rise and fall of the ice cream throughout the year. And then you're presented with the sales of bikes. And then you really start to see that the more ice cream is sold, the more bikes are sold. So you conclude, you know what? The more you sell ice cream, the more bikes are going to be sold. But you and I probably know that is not true. Ice cream sales do not directly affect bike sales. The truth is that both of the sales increase when summer hits. It's not because one or the other, it is actually because of summer. And the last thing, you probably already guessed it, and that is that we just get way too tired when we use system number 2. I mean, it'd be kind of awesome to just kick in system 2 whenever we would like, but that's just not reality. We get tired, we get brain fog. I mean, you get tired of studying. Your productivity goes down the more you use system 2. It's not an unlimited amount of power. That is why you don't use it as much throughout your life, but it can be very powerful. So, is system 1 better than system 2, or is system 2 better than system 1? Well, it's neither of them. You see, just as awesome as this idea of having 2 separate systems in your brain is, it's far from reality. You see, when you use system 1, you're actually using system 2 at the same time. And when you use system 2, you're also using system 1. They're not separate entities within your brain. There is no better process of thinking because both are part of your brain and thinking. It is like saying, which leg is better at riding a bicycle, the left or the right? Really, you need both. Because if you just let one of the legs do the work, you're not gonna go very far. You need to have both legs in your bicycle in order for you to keep going forward. And you need to understand that both can be strengthened throughout time. Now, if you're interested in a way to get your brain back to that system 2 continuously without having to burn out, I suggest that you watch the video here on how to restore your mind to high level thinking. There, you're really going to see the change in your life. Also, comment down below if you figure out the answer to the lily pad before I said the answer. It'd be pretty fun. Anyway, you have a good one.